Right now, employers across the country are waiting for OSHA's highly anticipated federal heat rule. But here is the paradox. Even though the formal rulemaking process is completely stalled, companies are getting hit with a record number of heat-related citations. Before we break down exactly how this is happening, please note, this video is a briefing for EHS and industry professionals to understand regulatory trends and does not constitute formal legal advice. The proposed standard, Heat Injury and Illness Prevention in Outdoor and Indoor Work Settings, was supposed to establish the first nationwide baseline for heat safety. Instead, following the 2025 regulatory freeze, it is trapped in administrative limbo with no final publication date in sight. You might assume a stalled rule means a pause on federal oversight. The reality is the exact opposite. OSHA's on-the-ground enforcement velocity for heat hazards has skyrocketed, jumping from roughly 200 annual heat inspections to over 2,000. This surge is driven by a specific, calculated mechanism, the April 2026 update to OSHA's Heat National Emphasis Program, or NEP. This update gives area offices a permanent, direct mandate to scrutinize companies. For employers, the math is simple. The absence of a codified official standard does not equal an absence of legal liability. This diagram illustrates how OSHA bypasses the stalled rulemaking process by relying on Section 5A1 of the OSHA Act, commonly known as the General Duty Clause. It acts as a powerful gap filler, giving the agency the authority to penalize employers who fail to protect workers from recognized hazards, even when no specific heat standard exists. To sustain a citation under this clause, OSHA carries a heavy burden of proof. They must demonstrate 4 distinct legal elements: that a hazard actually existed, that the employer or industry recognized it, that it was likely to cause serious physical harm, and that a feasible method existed to abate or reduce the risk. To prove that an employer recognized the hazard, inspectors do not rely on subjective feelings about the weather. They use objective environmental data, looking specifically for days when the local heat index hits 80 degrees Fahrenheit, or utilizing wet bulb globe temperature readings to measure exact heat stress levels in the environment. Official heat warnings and advisories from the National Weather Service act as immediate triggers for OSHA. These designate heat priority days, meaning the agency expects you to know the risks, stripping away any plausible deniability. OSHA then pairs this environmental temperature data with evidence of your workers engaging in heavy physical exertion. OSHA does not need a finalized heat law. They use your local weather data and your workers' physical exertion levels to prove you willfully ignored a known, preventable threat. Who exactly is getting hit by this aggressive enforcement? The 2026 NEP update refined OSHA's targeting to a specific list of 55 high-risk industries. This list is built entirely on historical data. OSHA utilized injury, fatality, and days away from work statistics gathered between 2021 and 2025 by the Bureau of Labor Statistics to pinpoint the most hazardous sectors. It naturally includes the traditional outdoor targets that trigger automatic inspections on hot days, specifically construction, roofing, and agriculture. But the 2026 update severely expands the targeting of the economy's logistics backbone. Postal workers, package delivery services, and employees in indoor warehousing are now heavily scrutinized hotspots. If your industry is on this list, your historical injury data is being actively weaponized by the agency to justify proactive, unannounced inspections on any hot day. To survive an inspection, we need to look at Appendix I of the 2026 NEP. This diagram shows the exact evaluation checklist an OSHA compliance officer will use on your site, broken down into 3 core pillars: acclimatization, controls, and monitoring. The first and most scrutinized pillar is acclimatization. To pass, you need a documented 20% rule protocol. This gradually exposes new workers or those returning from a long absence by restricting them to just 20% of their normal shift exposure on day 1 and scaling up over 5 days. Next is the controls pillar. Once the heat index hits an 80 degree Fahrenheit threshold, employers must provide cool, potable water within a quarter mile of the active work area and ensure immediate access to shade. When conditions cross the high heat trigger of 90 degrees Fahrenheit, requirements escalate. Employers are mandated to provide paid 15-minute rest breaks every 2 hours. The final pillar is monitoring. OSHA expects to see proactive observation. This means formal buddy systems and supervisors actively tracking workers for symptom progression, catching exhaustion before it turns into heat stroke. Indoor environments with radiant heat sources, like foundries or manufacturing floors, are subject to these exact same monitoring and control standards. Above all, you must follow the cardinal administrative rule. If your heat program isn't documented on paper, OSHA considers it non-existent. Don't wait for the federal heat rule to be revived. Start building a strong heat protection program today. It protects your people and keeps you compliant. If you want to learn more about OSHA enforcement, heat safety, and workplace compliance in 2026, subscribe to the HSEstudy YouTube channel.